militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanatha Swami Niti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine. Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Nagar Gram Tarine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. We welcome all of our dear devotees on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, and our listeners over Zoom. We welcome all of you to this day 11 of Sri Vraja Mandal Parikrama. Before we move ahead, we'd like to congratulate all the devotees who have participated in the quiz session from yesterday. We'd like to congratulate Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Sarojamukhi Indulekha Mataji, Lakshmi Priya Mataji, Rajeshwari Mataji, Hari Prasad Prabhu, and Nutan Purohit Mataji. Congratulations to all of you for answering the quiz questions. And we encourage all the devotees that as many of you can please also do it so that we can get the opportunity to serve you by announcing your names and glorifying you for your services.
Can we have the slideshow, please? Yesterday, we completed our day 2 of Sri Giriraj Parikrama and our wonderful transcendental bath on the most auspicious day of Sri Bahulashtami, which is the appearance day of Sri Radha Kunda yesterday. Today, we continue from Sri Radha Kunda to a very beautiful place, Deeg. Deeg is a place in Rajasthan. So we will be now going from one state to another. We'll be walking from Uttar Pradesh to Rajasthan. And on the way, we will have darshan of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Bhajan Kutir, Sri Chakleshwar Mahadeva, Gantholi Gram, Gulal Kunda, Bahaj Gaon, and Deeg, which is where we will stay in the night. And we'll walk a total of about 22 kilometers, following Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and his footsteps. Next slide, please. So as you can see, we started from the extreme right, and so far, yesterday we completed that circle in the middle, the Giriraj Parikrama, and now we'll be starting from Sri Radha Kunda, which is given in green. It's actually symbolic of the blue tick, that's the blue circle that's there. That's where we start, and we end at D, which is given in red.
We also have missed out announcing the name of Flavier. Flavier, we are very sorry we didn't check it at least maybe a couple hours before. So we are so sorry we missed your comment, but thank you for messaging us and thank you so much for participating in the quiz. So Flavier, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Next slide, please. So this is the path that we would be taking, and these are the different temples that we will visit on the way from Sri Radha Kunda to Deeg. Deeg also comes in the Vrajmandal Parikrama. Next slide, please. So this is the very auspicious Bhajan Kutir of Srila Sanatana Goswami. Bhajan Kutir meaning the hermitage for performing one's devotional services and devotional ecstasies. Bhajan means devotional singing, devotional sadhana, devotional practices. So this is the hermitage of Srila Sanatana Goswami for performing his devotional practices. Now, this is at the banks of Manasi Ganga. So as you can see, we are actually starting from Radha Kunda and cutting across Sri Giriraj Govardhan from the point of Sri Manasi Ganga. And this Bhajan Kutir is at the banks of Manasi Ganga on the foothills of Sri Giriraj. Srila Sanatana Goswami, he came here to perform his sadhana and bhajan. Next slide, please. In fact, Srila Sanatana Goswami would perform Giriraj Parikrama every day. Srila Sanatana Goswami ki jai. Here we pay obeisances to the most benevolent Srila Sanatana Goswami, who was completely dedicated to the mission of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And in this way, he actually had personal relationships with the Vrajbasis. He would actually do Govardhan Parikrama every day, and on the way he would meet the Vrajbasis and he would ask them, "Oh, how is your daughter doing? Is your daughter's marriage ready? How is your family doing?" If there's, and he was like the counselor of the Vrajbasis. If Vrajbasis had any emotional problems, spiritual questions, spiritual problems, or anything that they had, they would approach Srila Sanatana Goswami. And Srila Sanatana Goswami would very patiently hear them out. And with a lot of concern and devotion, he would hear them and then give them a solution or just pray for them. And so, in this way, he set an example of cultivating relationships, spiritual relationships amongst devotees uh, on the basis of Guhyati, Guhyati, Guhyam Akhyati Prachati. Sorry, I was getting stuck there. Thank you. Guhyam Akhyati Prachati. That Dadati Pratigranati, Guhyam Akhyati Prachati. Devotional relationships are based on giving gifts and receiving gifts and expressing one's mind and confidence and trust in another devotee, and that other devotee reciprocating that confidence and trust. This is the way of cultivating spiritual relationships, which was exemplified by Srila Sanatana Goswami.
Right.
And when Srila Sanatana Goswami became very old, next slide, please, Krishna personally appeared and gave him a Shila with Krishna's lotus imprints and said, "You can, you don't need to do Govardhan Parikrama every day now. You can just perform parikrama of this, of my lotus feet on this Giriraj Shila, and that'll be, I will accept it as Govardhan Parikrama." And this particular Shila with the lotus feet imprint is in Sri Radha Damodar temple. That when we visited for the Panchakrosha Parikrama, we had the darshan of this exact lotus footprint on Giriraj Shila given by Krishna to Srila Sanatana Goswami. So if we actually perform a parikrama of Radha Damodar temple, it is equivalent to Giriraj Parikrama as told by Krishna to Srila Sanatana Goswami. Next slide, please. During his stay here, Srila Sanatana Goswami, he would perform his sadhana in his bhajan kutir, he would perform his devotional practices, he would chant very, very attentively, but he was getting overly disturbed by the presence of too many mosquitoes in this area. And then he tried to tolerate for a long time, and he would chant, and there would be, "Oh," and then should he focus on hearing the holy name or the boom of the mosquito? And he was getting very disturbed. They would bite him sometimes, and he would not want to hit them and kill them because he was very compassionate on them. And so he felt, you know what, it's fine. I don't want to disturb these mosquitoes, nor do I want to get disturbed by them. Instead of killing them, let me just leave this place. So he decided very humbly to leave from here. However, Lord Shiva, Sri Chakleshwar Mahadev, who was residing next door, whose temple is right next to Srila Sanatana Goswami's Bhajan Kutir, he had become very attached to listening to Srila Sanatana Goswami's loving call during his japa. When Srila Sanatana Goswami would chant, he would cry out to the holy name in such helpless devotion that Lord Shiva, next door, Sri Chakleshwar Mahadev, would like to hear his chanting. So next door was Chakleshwar Mahadev temple. So then Lord Shiva appeared in front of Srila Sanatana Goswami, requested him, please, please do not leave from this place. Sanatana Goswami said, I don't want to leave this place. I enjoy your association as well. But there are these mosquitoes. What can I do? I just want to go and perform my devotional practice in a place where I'm not disturbed. So Lord Shiva said, no worries. From tomorrow, no mosquitoes will disturb ever again. And so Lord Shiva, he went to the king of the mosquitoes and he said, don't you dare to come in the place of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Bhajan Kutir. And from the next day till today, you will find mosquitoes in all different places in Vrindavan. But in Srila Sanatana Goswami's Bhajan Kutir, there is not a single mosquito. Srila Sanatana Goswami ki Jai. Sri Chakleshwar Mahadev ki Jai. Next slide, please. And so Srila Sanatana Goswami continued to stay there and continued performing his bhajan in his bhajan kutir next to Chakleshwar Mahadev. So we pray to Srila Sanatana Goswami to please allow us to chant attentively with helpless devotion the way you would uh, to attract Krishna's attention, following in your footsteps in the mood of servant of the servant of the servant. Next slide, please.
Right. So now we come to the temple of Sri Chakleshwar Mahadev, which is right next to the Bhajan Kutir of Srila Sanatana Goswami. So it is said that there are 4 Mahadevs who are, like Kshatrapal. They are protecting Sri Vraja Mandala on all 4 directions. So we have already taken darshan of Bhuteshwar Mahadev in Mathura. So Bhuteshwar Mahadev is there on one of the sides of Vraja Mandal. Next slide, please. Next is Gopeshwar Mahadev, who is in Vrindavan. When we did Panchakrosh Parikrama, we saw when we were about to just reach the ISKCON temple back, in our return path, that's where Gopeshwar Mahadev, his temple is there. He is as a gopi, he is transformed into a beautiful gopi. So this is Gopeshwar Mahadev in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Next slide, please. Third Mahadev who is there protecting Sri Vrajamandala is Kameshwar Mahadev in Kamyavan. So we are yet to visit over here. We will be visiting, I think it will be in maybe 2 or 3 days, we will be visiting Kamyavan. So that's when we will go to visit Sri Kameshwar Mahadev, who is the other Kshatrapal and who is the fulfiller of all desires. That if we just pour water on this Mahadev and make any desire, especially spiritual desire, Mahadev, Kameshwar Mahadev fulfills it. So Jai Shri Kameshwar Mahadev ki Jai. Next slide, please. And the 4th Mahadev is this Chakleshwar Mahadev. So Chakleshwar Mahadev, as you see, there are 5 Shivalingas. This is 5 Shivalingas because it is said that it represents Lord Shiva, who has 5 heads. There is a very beautiful song. Brahma bole chaturmukhe, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Mahadeva Panchamukhe, Rama Rama Hare Hare. So this is a very beautiful song which is sung here when we go for Chakleshwar Darshan in Vrajamandala. We sing this very beautiful song that Brahma, he has 4 heads and he's also chanting Hare Krishna. And Lord Shiva, with his 5 heads, he is chanting the names of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this is there's the 5 Shivalingas in Chakleshwar Mahadev representing the 5 heads of Lord Shiva. Panchamukha, Panchamukha Mahadev. So this is Sri Chakleshwar Mahadev in Sri Giriraj Govardhan Lal Ki Jai. So this is, this Chakleshwar Mahadev, all the 4 Mahadevs actually have been installed personally by Maharaj Vajranabha, the great grandson of Sri Krishna. He installed these beautiful Mahadev deities, especially this one. And it is said that he is residing on the northern banks of the Manasi Ganga. In the where Manasi Ganga we saw in Govardhan, there, just on the banks of Manasi Ganga, is this beautiful temple of Chakleshwar Mahadev, and right next to it is this Bhajan Kutir of Srila Sanatana Goswami. So he, with these Lord Shiva, with his 5 faces, with the 5 Shivalingas, he is considered to be protecting this area of the Dham, of the 84 kroshas of Sri Vraja Mandala. It is said that the place where Chakleshwar Mahadev is residing, next slide please, we can see how, let's take darshan. This is the Chakleshwar Mahadev temple, which is right on the banks of the Manasi Ganga. Next slide, please. And let's take a look at how Lord Shiva looks with his 5 beautiful faces. So this is Lord Shiva residing in Kailash with his 5 different faces. So Shivalinga here, he is this Chakleshwar Mahadev, he is residing at a place in Manasi Ganga, which is called as the Chakra Tirtha. So Chakra Tirtha, it is said that this place got its name because when Sri Krishna, next slide please, when Krishna lifted Sri Giriraj, when Krishna lifted Giri Govardhan, at that time Indra was pouring down huge, huge rains. Samvartaka cloud was pouring torrential rains on Vrindavan. So the Brajbasis were protected under Govardhan. But, imagine each drop, if it's like a pillar, then where is all that water going? So Krishna had actually made a very divine arrangement. Krishna, it is said that he had requested Sudarshan, he had ordered Sudarshan Chakra. Next slide, please. Sudarshana Chakra was ordered by Krishna to be like a protection over Giriraj, to protect Giriraj. So that, and also the heat, Sudarshana has a Mahajwala. Sudarshana Mahajwala. Koti Surya Samaprabha Ajnanati Virandhanam Vaikunthabda Pradarshakam. That Sudarshan Chakra is so bright, it's so effulgent, it's Mahajwala, it's huge, very, very effulgent. Okay, and then it is so effulgent. So Krishna, he placed the Sudarshan Chakra right on top of Giriraj, and the job of Sudarshan was to protect Giriraj, and also, Sudarshana Mahajwala, Koti Surya Samaprabha. Koti Surya means, thousands upon thousands of suns together will not produce that much heat that Sudarshan can produce. So Krishna had ordered Sudarshan that as soon as Indra is dropping all these rains, you suck, with your heat, you absorb, you evaporate all the water so that Braj does not get flooded. This is the reason why Vrindavan did not get flooded. So Sudarshana Mahajwala, Koti Surya Samaprabha, Ajnana Timiranthanam, that it destroys all darkness, and Vaikunthabda Pradarshakam, that it shows the path towards going to Vaikuntha. Next slide, please. So Sudarshan Chakra had this beautiful, beautiful, effulgence and this very beautiful service of protecting the Brajbasis during this time. You can see the heat, the brightness, the effulgence of Sri Sudarshan Chakra. It is said, Namaste Nitya Vilasad Vaishnavastra Niketana Avarya Viryam Yadrupam Vishnustat Pranamamyaham. That this is the weapon of Sri Krishna, and that's why Vaishnavastra Niketana, that it's meant, Lord Vishnu doesn't use it for his protection. It is for the protection of the devotees of Vishnu, Vaishnavastra Niketat, that it is, it is used for, Sudarshan is used for the service and the protection of the devotees. So that this is how, then after the 7 days, 7 nights were over, Sudarshan, he came to Krishna after Indra finished his conversation. Krishna forgave Indra, everything was done. Then Sudarshan said, my dear Lord, I did some service for you in Vraja Mandala. So can I also get a little bit of place here to reside in Vraja Mandala? And Krishna was so pleased by this humility of Sudarshan Chakra and his appeal to Krishna to reside in Vrindavan Dham. Krishna said, yes, this area of Manasi Ganga is therefore called as Chakratirtha. So this is the place where Krishna gave permission to Sudarshan to reside. And so Manasi Ganga, this Sanatana Goswami Pad's Bhajan Kutir, and Chakleshwar Mahadev are in Sri Chakratirtha, that is Sudarshan, who is eternally residing here in Sri Vrajadham as the protector of all the devotees. Jai Sri Sudarshan ki Jai. Next slide, please.
So now from Chakleshwar Mahadev, we come to Gantholi Gaon, Gantholi. Shri Radha Krishna, they would actually come here. And next slide, please. One time, the gopis, they arranged a swing festival pastime here, because after the blistering summer heat, when the clouds are floating in the sky above, and there is roaring thunder, as we can see here, that ushers the monsoon season. The Brajvasis, they are like overjoyed. This is so wonderful. It was so hot in summer. Now the rains will finally arrive and provide respite from this sweltering heat. And because of this monsoon, the birds, they hum, and the peacocks dance with their feathers open in this enchanting forests of Vrindavan Dham. Next slide, please. And because of this, the forests of Sri Vrajadham come to life. You can see this lush greenery, new colors. The trees, they are sprouting green leaves in this rainy season. There is the bees, they hang out around the blooms of the, drinking sweet, sweet nectar from these flowers. Then the raindrops, they touch the ground. The ponds and lakes, they fill with fresh water. Lotuses, they bloom. And the air just fills with such a pleasant fragrance that it is enchanting to behold and experience. So with the arrival of the rains, the magical forests, the 12 forests of Vrindavan, where Radha and Krishna have spent their time together in a jhula, in a swing, they turn stunningly beautiful in this atmosphere. And then this is how Radha and Krishna, they enjoyed blissful singing in the holy groves of Vrindavan. Next slide, please. So Lord Krishna and Radharani, they once met here in this beautiful forest village, the Sakhis. They had prepared a beautiful flower-adorned chula, or the swing, that hung from one of the high branches of a kadamba tree. And then the long golden ropes, these were intertwined with creepers of madhavi and jasmine and other fragrant flowers. Then there was one swing on which Sri Radha Rani and Shyamasundar, they sat facing each other. Next slide, please. There, they are sitting facing each other. There was another one. Next slide, please, which was lotus-shaped jhula, lotus-shaped swing. Here, as we can see, they're sitting facing each other, and they have enough room for both of them. So this is the wonderful. The other one, next slide, please. Next one was lotus-shaped, with 8 petals. And this was where the Ashtasakhi also sat along with Radha Krishna in the center. Sometimes Sri Devaki Nandan, he would pull Radharani onto his jhula or jump onto her swing. All of a sudden, she would be taken by surprise. Then the Sakhis who would stand around, they would shower flowers on Radha and Krishna, offering arti to them. Next slide, please. They also offered like beautiful, beautiful flower garlands, as we can see here. And they served pan, betel leaf, and sprayed cold rose water on Radha and Krishna. As we can see here, all these gopis are assisting in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And these Sakhis, they sang such melodiously, musical instruments, just to please this divine youthful couple.
Then at this time, it is said that the Sakhis did a very, very wonderful pastime. They did a wonderful thing at this time. When Shri Radha and Krishna were sitting on the swing, can we have the next slide, please? That time, Shri Radha Govinda, what they did is one of the Sakhis, as you can see here in this picture, that she went at the back and she took the chadar of Krishna, and then she took the dupatta of Srimati Radharani, and she tied both the ends into, entwined them together. They tied Radha Krishna, just like how in Vaishnava marriages, during the marriage ceremony, the ghat is tied. That is, the knot is tied to show the union of the couple. So the similar way, Shri, Radha and Krishna were tied in a loving knot by the Sakhis over here. So Srimati Radharani was tied, her cloth end was tied to Krishna's chadar's end, and they were tied together into a ghat. Ghat means like a knot was tied. And when that knot was tied, that's why this particular village got the name Gantholi. It's still today, it is called as Gantholi Gram, Gantholi Gaon or Gantholi Gaon, which means the village of Gantholi, where the divine couple came together in a loving knot. They tied themselves each other with the love of, their own love. So this is such a beautiful pastime, and the village is still known as Gantholi, where Radha and Krishna got bound to each other by their loving knot.
Next slide, please. Next, we come to this place called Gulal Kunda. Gulal is like the red powder that Krishna has on his hand, and he's putting it, showering it on Srimati Radharani, and Radharani is showering the Gulal, the red powder, on Krishna's lotus feet. This is during the festival of colors, during Holi. Radha and Krishna are playing Holi, and with that, Kunda, a pond manifested, which was of the color of Gulal or the red pond. So it's called Gulal Kunda. One time during Holi, Sri Radha Krishna came here with the Sakhis. They played Holi, the festival of colors. Radharani, Krishna, Sakhis, they all washed off the color of their bodies in this particular pond or Kunda. And that is why this Kunda, which is located in Gantholi Gaon, is called as Gulal Kunda, where Sri Radha Krishna washed off the holy colors from their divine bodies. Next slide, please.
So let us witness some beautiful images where Sri Radha Krishna are spraying each other with beautiful colors, and they are just, sometimes it's water mixed colors, sometimes it's just powder colors. They're just throwing and having so much fun and, enjoying in their company, each other's company, and celebrating this beautiful festival of colors, the festival of Holi.
Next slide, please. This is again Radha and Krishna with all the Sakhis and Sakhas enjoying the festival of colors, Holi, and we can see the Gulal Kunda behind.
And can we, can all of us see one personality who is standing next to Srimati Radharani? Can we all make out who that personality is? That is none other than Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Yes, that is Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is participating when Mahaprabhu came here to this Gantholi Gram. Mahaprabhu came here to this Gulal Kunda. And when he came here on the banks of the Gulal Kunda, this entire Leela of Radha and Krishna playing Holi with the Sakhas and the Sakhis manifested in front of Mahaprabhu's eyes. And Mahaprabhu was in supreme ecstasy, just witnessing this beautiful festival of colors in Gulal Kunda, on the banks of the Gulal Kunda. Next slide, please. Jai Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. So Srimati Radharani is, she loves this festival of colors. She just loves it so much that, Krishna just is, drenching her with so much of color that, her complexion is all mixture of different colors: yellow color, green color, red color, pink color, purple color, all like she appears like a multicolored flower. That is how beautiful Srimati Radharani appears when she is smeared with all these, flurry of colors by Sri Krishna. So then when they are drenched like this, they have to go and wash off their, colors from their, divine bodies. So then they enter this kunda. And when they enter this kunda, next slide, please, we can see how even in the kunda, they are spraying water at each other and they are washing off the colors from each other's body, but they are also continuing to play. They are filling the waters of the Gulal Kunda and spraying on each other. This is how Sri Krishna is enjoying transcendental pastimes with Srimati Radharani and the beautiful Sakhis of Sri Vraja Dham. Next slide, please. So let us take darshan of how the Gulal Kunda looks. We can see how beautiful flowers, there are beautiful blossoms, beautiful flowers, flower trees all around this Gulal Kunda, which makes it look like Gulal Kunda. You can see the beauty of this very beautiful Kunda. So let us also enter the waters of Gulal Kunda, that it has the dust of the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It has the dust of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and Krishna and the Sakhis. And please let us take bath, and just drench ourselves in this beautiful Kunda called as Sri Gulal Kunda. Next slide, please. So you can see us here. We are here at Gulal Kunda, taking water from this Kunda and, sprinkling on our head. We didn't take bath, but we did sprinkle water on our head. So this is at Sri Gulal Kunda ki jai.
Such beautiful atmosphere. Even today, you can see it's so serene. It's so green with all these trees surrounding. This is a very recent picture. Next slide, please. So now from Gantholi village, we continue walking. As we are approaching Deeg, we come to this village called Bahaj. This is the village where Indra, he parked his Vahana. These are all simple Vrajbasis. They have such simple dwellings, such simple residence. Their biggest asset is the cows, who they worship and who sustains them physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Shri Gomata ki jai. Next slide, please. This is the village where Indra, when he realized his mistake, that he has done a big mistake by calling the Samvartaka clouds, and Sudarshan and Giriraj came to their rescue. This is not ordinary. So he came down. He first came down to this village. He parked Airavat here. Next slide, please. Airavat, the elephant of King Indra. King Indra came down, next slide, and he parked his elephant Airavat here. He asked him to stay here in this Bahaj Gaon. And because he had come from heavenly planets, he didn't want to come in front of Krishna on an elephant, on Airavat. That would be very rude. He had come to beg forgiveness. So he went just with Surabhi cow. just with Surabhi, and went to Govindakund near Govardhan and wanted to beg forgiveness. Then Indra got down, walked to Sri Govardhan, begged forgiveness from Krishna. Next slide, please. And uh, then, because of the merciful nature of Surabhi cow, because of Krishna's merciful nature, Krishna forgave Indra. Next slide, please. And after Krishna, next slide, please. After Krishna forgave Indra, Indra begged permission if Indra could give him some abhishek. And when Krishna agreed, then he summoned Airavat from this Bahaj village to Govindakund. Next slide, please. And that's where this particular pastime took place of the Abhishek, and Krishna was coronated as Govinda. So that was the Bahaj Gaon, the parking place for Airavat from the heavenly kingdom. So now from Bahaj village, we walk and we come to this beautiful place called Deeg. Now we have entered the state of Rajasthan. This is in very close vicinity to the city of Bharatpur. Deeg is a small town in this state, and there are some wonderful, beautiful floating palaces here, Jal Mahal, which means floating palaces over water. This was actually founded by Maharaj Suraj Mahal in the 18th century, and Deeg served as the summer resort to the Rajput royal families from Rajasthan, from Jaipur. They would come here in summer. This was their summer homes. Several of these Jal Mahal are here. Next slide, please. So here again, this is the Deeg Fort. This would be the fort where sometimes they would come for the summer vacation, or even at the times, this one is actually surrounded by water on all sides, so it also protects from enemies. Many times when the enemies, the Mughals, would come and attack, the king would be kept here, because in order for all the enemy soldiers to come into this court, they first have to cross this river, this surrounding water body that's there. And while they would be in the water body, they were easy targets. So it was very difficult to actually enter into the fort. Even if they would enter through the water body, to come inside the fort was a huge endeavor. When we went there, as we were walking, we didn't go inside the fort, but as we were walking, we saw the fort on the side, and there were actually places, strategic places from where they would either throw some arrows, which was like within the fort, but there were small, small windows which you could not see very clearly. But from inside, you can see clearly outside. But from outside, you cannot see where these arrows are coming from. But there were soldiers hidden inside who would then throw the arrows or guns or whatever could be there. So this is a very, very well protected, well planned fort, the Deeg Fort. Next slide, please. So
although, Deeg falls in the state of Rajasthan, this place used to be the favorite cow herding pasture for Sri Krishna. Krishna would come here to graze his cows, and Krishna would, play because this area, Deeg, uh, although there was not much grass, the grass in this area, because it's Rajasthan, it would be very, very dry. But then right after the monsoon period, fresh grass would, blossom over here. There would be very nice pastures. So Krishna, right after the monsoon season, would come here to Deeg to graze his cows. So we might think, a thought can enter our mind, that how is it possible that Krishna, who was living in Nandagaon, which is so, 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 so far away from this place Deeg, how would Krishna come every day in the morning? He would graze the cows and he would then go back in the evening also, same day. It's not humanly possible. It's just not possible.
It takes about, at least for us, the mortal beings, from Radha Kund to this place, it took about 4.5, 5 hours for even the people who were walking really fast. And some of us, it took 7 hours. So even if Krishna Balaram are walking very fast along with the cows, uh, if they are walking at the same speed as us, then it would take a long time. And again, this is entirely possible. But at the same time, there is another explanation. Next slide, please.
So our acharyas, they give a very beautiful explanation to explain to us that how would Krishna go to these, like he was in the area where Nandagaon is, which is almost in the center. And then how would Krishna travel to all these different places which are on further ends of the lotus? How would Krishna do that? So our acharyas say that Vraja Mandala is shaped like a lotus, like we see here. What is the quality of lotus? Next slide, please. The lotus, when it is fully blossomed, the petals are spread all over. But when Krishna wanted to travel from this end to this end, then what would Krishna do? He would say, Vrajamandala, shrink. And then, next slide, please, the lotus would close a little bit. You see how it's closing? And then the places would come very close. And then, if Krishna wanted a little more closer, then he would say, Vrajamandala, shrink. And then again, next slide, please, the lotus would completely close. And when Krishna would want, it would open up again like this. So this is the beauty of Sri Vrajamandala, that Vrajamandala is it is actually going around like in following the direct instructions of Krishna. It can close and open by the orders of Sri Krishna. This is how the acharyas explain to us.
Next slide, please. So in the night, we will stay here at Deeg. We can see there is the camps or tents behind, and all these Brajbasis, they are so happy to see all of us arriving at this place in Deeg. This basically serves as a camping site because tomorrow we will visit Badrinath. Badrinath, you might think Badrinath is all the way up in Himalayas. We just had the Himalayan Yatra the last month. How can we go back? Do we have to go back to Badrinath? Well, Krishna manifested a Badrinath in Vrajadham. As it is said, all the different dhams, holy places, are actually present in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So Badrinath Dham is also present in Vrajadham. Kedarnath Dham is also present in Vrajadham. And that's where we will go from Deeg to Badrinath Dham. When Mahaprabhu, he performed this Vraja Mandal Parikrama, he also stopped here for the night to take rest in Deeg. Otherwise, it's a huge distance to cover from Radha Kunda directly to Badrinath. So this place is basically our camping site, our night stay place here at Deeg, Rajasthan. Jai Shri Vrajadham ki Jai. Shri Vrajamandal Parikrama ki Jai. Next slide, please. So here, as you see, that we have traveled all the way from Vrindavan to Madhuvan, Mathura, Madhuvan, to Talavan, Kumudvan, all the way to Bahulavan, and then we came to Sri Radha Kund and Govardhan Parikrama, and from there we have arrived at Deeg, and tomorrow from here we'll go to Badrinath and Kedarnath. Next slide, please. This is the path that we took, and we saw many wonderful temples and places on the way, cutting across Sri Govardhan. Next slide, please. And therefore, we discussed the glories of Srila Sanatana Goswami, Chakleshwar Mahadeva, and his help to the devotees. We pray to Sri Chakleshwar Mahadeva to please protect us, help us to remove all the dangers and obstacles in executing our devotional service. Then we went to Gantholi Gaon and Gulal Kunda, where Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu actually participated in the pastime of Sri Radha and Krishna. Then to Bahaj Gaon, where Indra, when he came from heavenly planets, he parked his elephant Airavat, and then we are staying at Deeg tonight.
Vivo.
So we can end the slideshow here. And today, we in in honor of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, his Vrajamandal Parikrama, we will sing the song Gai Gaura Madhur Sware, which is written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his book Gitavali.
So maybe just request the lyrics to be posted in the chat box, please. So we can all sing this bhajan first. And then right after the bhajan singing, we will announce the quiz questions and open up the lines for questions. Gai Gaura Madhur Shane, Gai Gauranga Madhur Shane. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gai Gaura Madhur Shane, Gai Gauranga Madhur Shane. Grihe thako, bane thako, Sada Hari bole rako. Sukhe dukhe bhulone rako, Bodhane Hari naam karo re. Sukhe dukhe bhulone rako, Bodhane Hari naam karo re. Gai Gaura Madhur Shane, Gai Gauranga Madhur Shane. Maya jale batha hoye, acho miche kajuloye. Ekhono chetana pe, Radha Madhav naam bolo re. Ekhono chetana pe, Radha Madhav naam bolo re. Gai Gaura Madhur Shane, Gai Gauranga Madhur Shane. জীবন হইল শেষ, না বুঝিলে ঋষিকেশ। ভক্তি বিনোদ দেশ, একবার নাম রসে মাতরে। ভক্তি বিনোদ দেশ, একবার নাম রসে মাতরে। Jai Gauranga Madhur Shade. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gauranga Madhur Shade, Jai Gauranga Madhur Shade.
Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Shri Vartaman Guru Vrinda ki jai.
So we will just announce the quiz questions, and right after the quiz questions announcement, we will take the, we'll open up the lines. So today we have 7 quiz questions. First, how can we take darshan of Govardhan Shila the Lord Krishna gave to Srila Sanatana Goswami? Second, what pastime happened with Srila Sanatana Goswami at Chakratirtha?
Third, who are the 4 Kshetrapals of Vrindavan? Fourth, how did the village of Gantholi get its name?
Fifth, how did the Gulal Kunda manifest? Sixth, what is the significance of the Bahaj village?
Seventh, why is Sri Vrindavan Dham compared to a lotus?
Haribo, thank you so much for these wonderful quiz questions.
And please respond to the answers in the YouTube page and the Facebook page, and we'll be happy to announce your names tomorrow for answering these particular quiz questions under this particular video. And now we can open up for questions and comments.
Haribo, Kirti.
Hare Krishna Mataji Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga. I really liked today's class. I liked the Bahaj village, Kameshwar Mahadev, and Sanatan Goswami's place. I really like that place.
Thank you, Vita.
So I have one question today. So Mataji, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
We can't hear you now. We were able to hear you, but not now.
Kirti, are you still there, Vita? Okay, probably.
Mataji, can you?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you now.
I think I got disconnected. So I think I said that I like Bahaj village, Kameshwar Mahadev, and Sanatan Goswami's place. So I have one question today. So how Srimati Radharani, she used to love Krishna, and because of Krishna, she woke up and her eyes opened and everything. So when Krishna left to so when he left over there, Srimati Radharani was in separation of Krishna. So if she couldn't live without Krishna for the first time when she opened her eyes, how couldn't she live without Krishna after Krishna left? Because I think in the Shastras it said that Radharani wanted to see Krishna first and she wanted to be with Krishna. But how can Radharani be with Krishna after Krishna left to Dwaraka? So Radharani can just leave after Krishna left.
Yes, very good question. Radharani, Krishna is always with Radharani, especially in the form of his separation. In separation, we feel the presence of the lover much more than when the person is with us. So, if for example, you may love your parents, and if they are gone for some time, and you are alone, you would so much remember them, and you would remember all the wonderful uh, dinner and bhoga and prasad that your mother parents would feed you, and so lovingly all the things, all the places they took you, and all of that. And in that absence of them, you actually feel their presence much more, because it's with so much intensity and longing. So in that sense, when Krishna is not with Srimati Radharani, he is still with Srimati Radharani in the absolute form. Of course, your parents may not be absolute, so they can only be at one place at one time. And but Krishna, there is no difference between Krishna and his remembrance, his smarana. There's no difference between Krishna and his holy names. And when we take those holy names and we remember Krishna with that intensity, he's actually present. And we may not, in our immature stage of devotion, may not be able to experience Krishna's presence, but Radharani would be able to experience. So when she was little and Krishna was not with her when she was little, at that time she would still remember Krishna and feel his presence. It's just that she didn't want to open up her eyes before Krishna. When she opened her eyes, the first person she wanted to see was Krishna. It wasn't that she was lifeless. She was still living. I mean, in the sense she still had appeared. But in the without Krishna, it's just that she didn't want to open her eyes without seeing Krishna. First person was Krishna. And then when Krishna left, she wanted to leave, but just she was cursing herself. Why am I not leaving my body when Krishna has left? But she was feeling the presence of Krishna much, much more at that time because of the separation. Does that answer your question?
Um, yes, Prabhuji. I have one thing to share today.
Yeah.
I drew this. One second. I think I need to take out my background so you can see. I drew a picture of Radharani and Krishna.
Oh, wow.
Wow, Jai.
Very pretty, very pretty.
Thank you, Mataji, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Send us a picture, okay?
Sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And send us a picture of your virtual background also. I love that Radharani and Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vita.
Rushan Prabhu?
Garima.
Oh,
Yes, Garima. Rushan Prabhu will come back to you in a minute, if you don't mind.
Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Nah, I loved where we went. Like, I saw the Govardhan Shila that I think Sanatana Goswami had. Yeah. I saw that in Vrindavan when we went to Radha
Wow.
Damodar.
Very good.
yeah.
And I was so amazed that the Radha and Krishna are doing they're doing the colorful.
Oh, Holi?
Yeah, Holi. And it's so amazing to see.
Yes. Krishna's
This,
pastimes are like that.
so I don't have a question today, but I did 2 drawings. We went to Govardhan Hill when Krishna was there, and Krishna was there. Govardhan is very high, and I made that they're offering some food to Govardhan.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Please
This
take
is
a picture and send us, Garima. We'd love to see it up close, okay?
This is laddus. This
Hmm.
is cake. This is apple, and these two are orange. These are all the grapes, and this is mango.
How nice. Giriraj would be so happy. Can you take a picture and send us also?
Yes, and
Thank
I made the Hari Dev picture.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Ooh,
Oh, wow.
beautiful,
Really.
beautiful. Right. Take pictures and send us, okay?
Yeah, I will.
Thank you. Vita.
Mataji, he wants to share because his favorite is Govardhan.
Okay.
So he been wanting to show his art and craft.
Okay.
Not wait, Mataji has to go. No, wait. Yeah. Done. Okay, sure. Hold it. Later. Okay, we'll come back later, Mataji. His drawing is not finished.
Okay, Krishna, we'll come back to see your Giriraj, okay? Hari
Hari
bol.
bol. Rushan Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam. Today we heard regarding Indra parking Airavat in Bahaj village, right? So I had a question that yesterday we heard that day before yesterday or yes, day before yesterday that Airavat showered the Ganges, the Devaloka Ganges on Krishna. So it was from Bahaj village or Airavat went to Govind Kund then.
Yeah, so he was, because Indra did not want to come all the way to Govindakund to meet Krishna on an elephant, on Airavat. It would look very rude and arrogant. So Indra said, "You stay here in Bahaj," and then he went with Surabhi cow to Govindakund.
He walked all the
He
way.
walked there, and then when Krishna forgave him, then he called Airavat from Bahaj village. So Airavat came from Bahaj village. Now there must be some special communication or maybe a whistle or something like that. And Airavat then came to Govindakund, and then that's when the Abhishek and the shower took place.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhuji Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Surud, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mat.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vita.
Augustus Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
I attend from today's class. Why did Krishna need to lift the Govardhan hill when the Sudarshan Chakra was already evaporating the rain when it was?
Very nice question, Vita. Very, very nice question. You are so sweet. You look like a laddu. Very cute. So, anyways, Krishna, he had to lift Giriraj Govardhan because even though Sudarshan Chakra, he had the potency to absorb all the, water which was falling on the ground. When the water was falling on the ground, that time, Sudarshan was absorbing all the water, evaporating all the water. But before the water is falling, so that time, the Brajbasis need to be protected also, no? So even just Sudarshan doing this service all by himself was not enough. That is why Krishna also lifted the Giriraj Govardhan hill. And they needed a shelter, the Brajbasis, they needed shelter. So that is the reason why Krishna lifted Govardhan and gave the shelter. And then so that when they are inside the Giriraj, at that time, because those big water droplets are falling, at that time they should not flood, Vrindavan, and the Brajbasis will then be in trouble, no? So that's why Sudarshan came to, evaporate all the water out. So we hope this answers your question.
Mataji, so why the Vajrasis saying their houses that are made by bricks and all that?
Their houses, everything was gone actually. It was all, under the water. It was, like so much water was falling. So, they had to construct again. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that, Vrindavan had to be, but it was done like this because of Krishna's desire. Vrindavan was again reconstructed very, very soon.
But the chakra was just, if your question is if chakra was there, then why they had to rebuild? The chakra was just just in above the umbrella of Krishna. So all the other places still got flooded.
And the water, so that mainly the water should not flood the Brajvasis when they are under the Giriraj. That is why Sudarshan was kept over there, so that he can absorb all the water.
But the rain did fall on Govardhan as well. It's not like because Sudarshan was there, so nothing fell on Govardhan. The rain did fall on Govardhan hill. It is described each drop was like a pillar, but still Giriraj was able to tolerate that because he was being touched by the finger of Krishna. And Giriraj was so much excited and so much in ecstasy that all of these torrents of rains did not really affect him. So even with the Sudarshan, this was still there. The rain was still falling on Govardhan.
Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Thank you, Vita. Thank you
But
so
the
much.
intensity had reduced a lot
Because of Sudarshan.
Because of Sudarshan.
Very nice question, Vita. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji, he cannot wait to show you. He just... Okay.
Giriraj Govardhan ki jai.
So beautiful. Krishna, take a picture and send, okay? Okay. Thank you, Vita.
Dushyant Prabhu, do you have another question or is your hand
Yes,
just raised?
yes. Okay, so this is regarding yesterday. My mother had a question I forgot to ask. So she was having that. She was telling that while we go for Govardhan Parikrama, there are two parikramas like Choti Parikrama and Badi Parikrama. So what is the significance and difference of it?
Oh, like how from Danghati, there is a place where you can enter into the foothills of Giriraj, like what we do when we enter. We generally, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, especially as ISKCON, we are recommended to enter from Govindakund. We enter inside, and follow the inner roads of Govardhan. And that makes the parikrama as long as 25, But there is an outer parikrama circle, which is almost around, I think it's almost around 35 or 36 kilometers, which is, the entire circumference that if you have to go around, we are not taking any inner roads, but if you're taking all the external circumference, then it comes to around 35, 36 kilometers. So that's the Choti Parikrama and the Badi Parikrama.
Okay, Mataji, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Vrinda Gopika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Mataji, so nicely all the katha today's Sridham Vrindavan and Leelas, especially the Shri Mataji Jhulan Yatra, still in all the Vallabhacharya Haveli, Sisi Laddu Gopal, Sisi Radha Madan Mohan, the Jhulan Yatra is in Shravan Mas, every day Mataji, and in Adhik Mas also. That is like a beautiful rose flower, yellow, green, red, jameli, and Rajnigandha. And then sometimes the Jhulan Yatra is everyday new darshan. Sometimes Raslila, sometimes Vrindavan Dham, sometimes Govind Dham, sometimes Shishit Sham Kunda, Radha Kunda, and sometimes vegetables Jila, and sometimes Mataji dry fruits Jula, and they everyday new Leelas, Sridham Vrindavan Dham, they prepare by the Vaishnava. And Mataji, the Holi of the Vraj Dham, Mataji, oh Radhe Shyam, we cannot forget Mataji, the Latimar Holi and the mood of Balas and
Latmar Holi of Barshana. It's called Latmar. Latmar Holi.
Latmar Holi, Mataji. Pray for us that next year we also enter in Shidam Vrindavan Dham with you and Prabhuji and with Maharaj. Please pray for us this Parikrama Mataji.
You please pray for us. Please do pray for us. Thank you, Mataji.
So
Hare
nice,
Krishna.
Mataji. Koti koti Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai.
Jai. Haribo. Thank you.
All right, if there are no more questions, we can end here. Thank you very much for your association. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha
Patitanam
patitanam pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
vaishnavebhyo
Namo
namo namaha.
Namaha. Tomorrow, please join us on this very exciting yatra that we're going to go from Deeg to Badrinath. It's a parikrama that you will remember for the rest of our lives. Please do join us. This Badrinath yatra from Deeg to Badrinath is a very, very special walk. It's a very, very special walk, extremely scenic, and we'll try our best to make it as visual for you as possible. So please do join us tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you
In
all.
between all the fields and khet and all the farms, that's how we'll walk.
Haribo. Jai Shri Radhe. Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki